I'm told that this is a combo deck of sorts. We have Beamsplitter Mage along with things like Run Amok and Rile and Crash Through and Maximize Altitude, and so I'm assuming we're just going to cast a bunch of spells and hopefully attack for lethal. Every other time we have played a blue-red deck like this, we played 2 or 3 of them at this point. This is the 3rd or 4th one that we've played. The conclusion at the end has been, just play the Drake's deck, this is bad Drake. So I'm interested to see if this feels like it's doing something uniquely powerful, or if it's just, this is awkward and not worth doing. Give it 2 or 3 matches before we move along. Someone asked, how do you feel about Dino's decks? Haven't seen it in a bit. So again, this is an important thing to know if you're not familiar with my content. The decks that I'm playing on stream are in no way a measure of, are in no metric of what decks I like or what decks I think are good or bad. The content on this channel is driven by the people that support it. So the decks that I'm playing are the decks that people have sent me dollary dues to play. The people that watch are the people that pick what we play. Speaking of, are we a bad Drake's deck? Looks like we're playing against Drakes to start. Our card's pretty good here. If they don't have any Doom Blades, we're gonna be fairly aggressive here. Yeah, if they have no interaction, we're going to be good at racing here. Unfortunately, a lot of the decks in this format have a good amount of interaction in them. Jeff Hoagland in no way endorses playing any of these decks. He's a trained professional. Don't try this at home. Yep. And it was funny, I remember when I worked at a theater during college, my boss's joke and I was always that we're trained professionals, just not at this. Because I think he had a history degree and I have a math degree. Like, when we ran the theater together, just like, neither of us had backgrounds in it. I do my best to be objective. Everybody, it's hard. A lot of what I do here is presenting opinions. And one of the things you have to do, and this doesn't just pertain to Magic, but it pertains to life in general and especially politics, is you need to be aware of what biases people have so you yourself can judge when they're worth listening to and when they're not. You've got me through another month of teaching the little ones. You've made me like Standard. I might just pick up my first Standard deck in years, and I have a wooden sword now. What's going on, Jaw? Thanks for the 6 months. I appreciate the half a year. Welcome back. Yeah, all mono creatures that die to shock. Not a particularly good feeling. Can Valve just buy wizards from Hasbro? Yeah, using Artifact and like the amount of technology that it has in it, the software surrounding Artifact is so incredibly good. Like, Arena's great. It's the best piece of Magic software I've ever touched, and it's very functional, but like the extra features that Artifact has done before it releases are just absurd. Should we be running Murmuring Mystic? I have no idea. Murmuring Mystic's a bit more of a grindy card. I believe this deck's goal is to be aggressive. That anybody has a valid reason to continue supporting the current administration. Yeah, they're probably people who are pretty uninformed or people that objectively hate other human beings. Those are probably folks that still support the current administration. I don't know. You have to jump, like, if you don't hate other humans, you have to jump through some massive gymnastics to validate what happened at our border recently. What extra feature of Artifact are we talking about? You can host your own tournaments in Artifact. You can set your own prizes, you can set the entry fees, and it automates the tournaments. The deck editor in Artifact is the best deck editor I've ever used in any digital card game ever. It has easy imports and exports. It has the ability to export to a website for easy linking to people. What's my favorite standard deck? Blue-Black Pirates. That's why I'm playing it at the Invitational. Artifact has a full official API. Even Hearthstone doesn't have an official API. Well, this is going about how I was expecting it to go. This looks and is playing out like the Kiln Fiend decks tend to play out in Modern, which is they just don't have a lot of threats, so their couple of threats die, and then you just like sit here with all these pump spells with your thumb up your butt. Super awkward. What's going on, Kaysen? But what about Magic Battlegrounds? That was a super accurate representation of Magic as a card game. You're not wrong. What is a full API? I'm blanking on what, I think API is access protocol something or interface or something like that. But basically it's an official way to get data and information from Artifact for things. Application programming interface. There we go. Application programming interface. There's the this is. I feel like there's a chance that these dive downs should just be main. Probably not unrealistic. Give this a go. Thud. Let's run it. Is the API document somewhere? I believe it's on their website. The API is a way to programs access data automatically with a special permission so you can do companion apps. Yes, exactly that. It's very rare to have official APIs. Even like the Deckmaster thing that I'm using here for Arena, that's not using an official Arena API. That's literally scraping text from a text file. So actually, I can show you here, 30 seconds. So if we look here, I have this output log. This is a 5 megabyte text file that every time anything happens in Arena, it outputs data to here in this, which looks like something close to a JSON format. It's probably JSON. And then the deck master tool reads this information in and understands it so it can send information out. You know, an official API wouldn't make you scrape a file like that. Hawati generally leaves a lot to be desired. It just doesn't generate card advantage like most other planeswalkers do. I think because I only have one threat and I have a dive down, I'm gonna Beam Splitter on 3 so I can protect it. The other thing that's awkward about this Beam Splitter card is this Beam Splitter card, in order to be a payoff for us, we don't just need to have Beam Splitter in play, we need to have a second creature in play too. And in a deck that's not incredibly threat dense, that seems like it's difficult to do. Yes, the Hearthstone apps do something very similar to what that is doing. Hearthstone also does not have an official API. Is that why my chat is slower than official Twitch? What do you mean, my chat? My chat on screen has nothing to do with that text file I just showed you. That has to do with Twitch APIs. Twitch has official APIs, speaking of. Yeah, we tried a Beam Splitter deck once before. That was a different iteration. did have an official API. It wasn't well documented, but it technically existed. I was the Rex. Will Magic the Gathering Arena have an official API? I don't believe that is on their roadmap, but I don't know for sure. Yeah, it's funny. So I was talking to my group of people that I test stuff with on occasion, and I think Artifact, like, if I consider Magic to be like a 10 out of 10 game, I think Artifact only needs to be like a 6 out of 10 game to be successful, not only because of the prizes that it's potentially offering, but also because of the software quality that it has. Hex was always hobby content. Hex wasn't very popular as a game. It was a very small title. And then Hex has actually basically completely died at this point. All right, well, I mean, this is pretty good. Are they dead? Is it turn 5 kill? Smells like a turn 5 kill. I think we did the thing. They're not quite dead, right? This is only 21. We're down to 3. If we lose after that turn, I feel like this deck's not worth playing. There's a good chance we still lose here, right? I want to play Artifact Constructed, and I'm assuming Artifact's market's gonna suck for the first couple of days and be really expensive, so I'm probably not gonna play it tomorrow. Yeah, that's a really good, like, actual best turn the deck can have and the opponent's still alive. This might just be a 2-match deck. I always play at least 2 matches with things when people submit them, but I think this one's probably not going to be good enough. I had a pretty wide range of stuff when I first started accepting standard decks. We weren't quite sure what was good in the format. So this one was, when was this one submitted? This one was added. This one was added almost like 3 weeks ago, so the format's developed a good bit and become more efficient since then. Arena was so disgusted by that deck, it crashed. How we doing, folks? Welcome. My name is Jeff Hogan. I'm a full-time streamer and content producer here on Twitch. This Beamsplitter deck that we are playing, like most of the decks that we play on this stream, is a viewer-submitted deck list. If you're interested in finding out how I could play one of your decks on stream in the future, you can check out bit.ly/Hugel sellout for a link to that. Past that and subscribing, you can also support my content by checking out all of my wonderful sponsors. Harry's would like to help you get that nice, close, clean shave. Using code Jeff Hogan at bit.ly/Hugel shave, you can save $5 in your brand new starter kit with them. Remember, chat, just because you have a nice beard doesn't mean you have to have a neck beard. Cardsphere.com will love to help you turn your cards into other cards or to their players. There's no haggling, and they just take 1% fee off the top. InkedGaming.com will love to help you customize your gaming experience using code Jeff12. You save 12% on custom playmats, mouse pads, binders, and bags with them. You can upload your own custom artwork that you have the right to redistribute, or check out the wonderful artwork that they already have on their website, such as merchandise by myself. And I'd like to welcome everyone out there to Hoaglandia. Thanks for dropping by today. I do appreciate that. There's a lot of great people making a lot of great stuff on Twitch. I appreciate you choosing to spend part of your Tuesday here with us. We're gonna head on in and try this Beamsplitter deck for a second match here, but I don't really have terribly high hopes, if I'm being honest. People who are talking in chat about nonsense with fiat currency and all that jazz, cut it out, or I'm gonna time you out. Where did I get my chair? Some website. I'm actually not particularly happy with my chair. I should have made a drive to Chicago and sat in a bunch of different office chairs before I picked something up. You dislike that feature for constructed. Well, you're a petty person who thinks your deck building prowess makes you smarter than other people. The shared data and artifact is A+ and quite fantastic. And anybody who's not part of some big giant team should love the shared data and artifact, because all of the big giant teams are going to have way better data than you as a little person. right, my opponent's on 1 land. Can we win a game? Beamsplitter into Adeliz is probably a good chance to win a game. What? Reading how the people on the Artifact subreddit responded to Artifact giving a bunch of people to data reminded me how silly and afraid people are of information. Like, just data is good. If you think the only reason you're winning games is because you have all these secret tricks, maybe you should consider getting better at the game. All right, so I'm gonna Warlord Fury, try and hit a land drop. Like, whenever I hear, like, Magic professionals talk about data and stuff like that, they're like, no, I need my edges, I need my edges. It's like, well, maybe you should just be better at Magic. Maybe if you spent half the time you spent complaining about not having data here, you could actually just win these matches by being better than your opponent, instead of, like, spending all your energy complaining. All right, we got them on the ropes. They're down to 2. Yeah, data is a key part of winning in any competitive thing. I agree. The whole data is evil thing is just some hot nonsense. Look at that, chat. We baited the spell Pierce Master Flame. Yeah, it's great to see him. It's fantastic. Welcome to the Smash, baby. Clearly the best deck ever. It has nothing to do with them missing a land drop. I mean, to be fair, we said this deck would be good if the opponent never interacted with us, and they didn't interact with us and they died there. This is a Wizard Lightning matchup. Expansion Explosion seems slow. I think this is a Wizard Lightning matchup. I'm gonna trim this Rile too. I'm gonna bring in my removal. Yeah, MTG top 8 is an okay place for data. We have 8 Jumpstart cards in our deck, so I think 4 Adeliz is fine. Adeliz is a style of card where if it lives, it often gives you a pretty big leg up. So I think having extras in case it dies is fine. Yep, completely agree with Thumbsda. I'm gonna read this out loud for people that aren't reading the chat at home. A solved format doesn't mean it's bad. A bad format being solved doesn't mean that data is bad. It means the format is bad or was designed poorly. A good format being solved quickly will still be good. So the argument against data has always been more for bad design. Yep. Pointing a finger at Magic data was a crutch to try and cover up mistakes that R&D and Magic had made to make Standard be rancid for the last 2 years. Good formats will be good whether they are solved or not. In fact, I'd argue this format we have now is pretty solved, right? We know what decks are good. We know lots of different cards that can go in them, but the gameplay's still good. Good, solved formats can have good gameplay. Any advantage you gain by having secret tech is lost immediately when deck lists are posted at the end of the day. Correct. And your secret tech, like, again, people talking about, like, as someone who's played on large groups, as someone who's played with semi-large groups of people at competitive style tournaments, people on large teams, even if lists aren't public, they're sharing information with each other. When I top 8'd the Open in Indianapolis earlier this year, it was just me and Matt that went. And you know what Matt's job was day 2 when I started 9-0? The first round of day 2, he took out his cell phone and he walked down the row of tables and wrote down descriptions of players and what archetypes they were playing and what key sideboard cards they were boarding in while they were playing. And by the end of that round 10, I knew what everybody I was playing against was playing for the remainder of the day. That's the kind of stuff that happens. It's just good, clean data. And you know what? I had an advantage over opponents that my opponents didn't have. And that wouldn't have happened if lists were just public. I think lists should be public for big events like that, and that it shouldn't be this big, scary thing that we keep secret. But as long as they are going to hide it, I'm going to take every advantage of them hiding it for sure. Think it hurts people playing unconventional cards in Constructed? No. I think if the card is good, it's not going to hurt you. If you're playing a bad card in Constructed, it might hurt you. But you know what? You probably shouldn't have put a bad card in your deck. Your deck's probably not very good if you had to put a bad card in it. You should be banned for scouting, not using it to advocate for public lists. You can get banned from my channel for being someone with an opinion that's stupid. But Jeff, you took a legal advantage that's allowed by the rules of the game, but I don't like it. Wah! Instead of advocating for the rules to change, I'm gonna say you should be banned as a player. That's some hot freaking nonsense right there. That is just like the most nonsensical thing I've heard. You want me to be banned as a player for doing something that's legal? Scouting is scummy? No. Scouting is good gameplay. Not scouting is lazy. You know what? I spend $400 to travel to a Magic tournament for the weekend. I'm gonna take every possible advantage that's legal that I can take. I'm gonna take every possible advantage that's legal I can take. Scouting happens at every IRL tournament. It really does. And again, that's why I would advocate for more data to be public, so that way people that don't have teams and friends to scout with are on the same playing field. I want everybody to be on the same playing field, but you know what? As long as the rules are stacked against the little dude, I'm gonna take advantage of that. There's no reason not to. Kill you, trample. There's Manny Bamonte now. He's wonderful. We were talking about you scouting at Indy, Matthew, and we banned a bunch of nerds who were upset that I had you scout. I remember back when I was grinding IQs, one of our buddies got the round 1 bye in a 60-player tournament. And round 1, he went and grabbed the pairing sheet off the wall and walked and scouted all 60 players in the room. And then he texted us. He took a picture on his cell phone of what he wrote down on the pairing sheet and messaged it to all of us. So just like round 1, we knew what everybody was playing. And it was a modern tournament, right? So like knowing what your opponents are playing in modern is huge. Like getting to sit down and go, oh, I can keep this hand because they're playing Jeskai control is just like absurd. Yeah, it was a 60-player tournament. I think I lead on Steam-Kin here, right? Because Beamsplitter will power this up. Yes. Yeah, Hearthstone tournaments, lists are always public. The big Hearthstone tournaments, lists are public going in because they understand data is good. Let it be known I'm scouting. Yep. They must have a syncopate here, right? They must have some kind of 2-mana syncopate or negate, because they'd have to have some kind of 2-mana counterspell, I think, here to not play this on their turn, to try and hit their land drop. What's going on, Priest? Welcome to a live one. Yes, yep, that's one of the great things. Yep, play a deck that wins quickly. Walk around and see what other people are doing. Sabotage, yep. How do you ban scouting? You can't effectively ban scouting. You can't. All you can do is balance it out so people who can't scout. In fact, here's a fun fact. The reason why deck lists are public for the top 8s of Grand Prix and Opens is because of people getting scouted from being on coverage throughout the course of the tournament. Because a lot of people who are going to be playing in the top 8 of that major tournament will likely have been on camera at some point during the weekend, but not all of them. So to make it fair to the people who are on camera, they make the deck list public. We're probably dead here again, right? Like, we won the mono blue matchup because our opponent couldn't interact with us, but here just like our opponent had a counterspell and a removal spell and we're just dead. Why isn't that the model for every tournament then? Any tournament with coverage at it, the deck lists are public for top 8. All right, dive downs and spell pierces. Let's try our best. Generally speaking, I think deck lists should be public, but maybe it's worth pointing out that Android's Netrunner tournament rules ban scouting with a match loss penalty. Well, how do you argue what's scouting and what's not? At that point, there's a lot of little details that will get into that, right? Like, am I scouting by looking at the table next to me and seeing what they're playing? Like, do players have to keep their vision directly on their match at all times? And anytime anybody looks to their left or the right, you have to give them a match loss for having scouted those tables next to them? Like, is watching coverage scouting? Can you not watch coverage of the tournament that you're playing? Like, there's so many nonsense details that go into like trying to do that. Is talking to your opponent scouting? Yeah, right? Like, all right, so I'm actually gonna Warlord's Fury on 1 here because I want to give myself the best possible chance to go 2 into 3. Need dividers like when we take tests in the 1st grade. Yep. Is having your friend give you a bad beat story scouting? That's actually a really good one, right? Put up your folders, boys and girls. It's time for the test. Speaking of things that are actually against the rules, did you hear someone got DQ'd from the Grand Prix over the weekend? For some kind of miscommunication nonsense? Man, I feel like, chat, do you believe in our grizzly bear? I feel like our grizzly bear's going the distance. He's going fall speed. Do. Be-do-do-do-do. What were the specifics? They posted a thread on Reddit about it, but like that's only their side of the story, so there's a chance that they're like lying. I don't know the details on the DQ. Honestly, none of us know the official details on the DQ because that stuff's not public. The person that got DQ'd posted their side of it, but there's no guarantee that they shared all the relevant information. Was it your bad beat story would need to sound like rap songs with bleeps every 2 seconds? Funny because it's true. Our deck doesn't have enough lands in it, apparently. Have I ever been DQ'd from an event? I have not. Never been DQ'd from a tournament. Weird how that works when you play by the rules. All right, we're done here. This deck just had... This deck couldn't beat a Stiff Breeze. We won the match where we played against the mono blue deck and they didn't do anything at all to interact with us. And the games where our opponent had counter spells and removal spells, we were just like left holding fistfuls of cards that like needed targets in play and weren't particularly good. So I think the Standard is a very interactive format. And having your deck fold to interaction just means it's not going to be good enough most of the time if your opponent's at all playing Magic.